Go to mercyships.org.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the most informative source for progressive politics and news in the Twin Cities. Get involved online at am950radio.com, where you can sign up for our weekly newsletter, check out the local businesses that help make this content available, and stay up to date on the latest news and upcoming events. You can always reach us by email at comment@am950radio.com. That's comment@am950radio.com. Thanks for listening.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more. Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Don't fall for vaccine misinformation. Local medical professionals are available to answer any of your questions. Initial shots and boosters are safe for people who are pregnant and even young children. Right now, vaccines are available for anyone over 6 months of age, while boosters are available for anyone over the age of 5. This message brought to you by the Native American Community Clinic. Find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986 or visit vaccineconnector.mn.gov.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low around 51. Thursday, partly sunny with a temp dropping to 49. And Friday, sunny with a high near 48. Tap, taste, and treasure at Vinaigrette. They offer the finest in extra virgin olive oils, white balsamic vinegars, wine vinegars, and more. Reintroduce yourself to all of the many flavors by tasting before you buy. Vinaigrette is located off 50th and Xerxes in Minneapolis or at vinaigrettemn.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous. Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake on Civic Media Network all over Turtle Island. We are really excited to be here. We talk about Native issues and events and things like that. And as you know, Ogama, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You know, this portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, which is an grassroots organization working for climate justice. Off to a good start midweek.
Hey, and fighting for climate justice too. That's
Absolutely.
what I hear.
Yes,
hey,
fighting hard.
Well, we demoted Ogama again as co-host, and she had a great show yesterday. I wanted to give you a big shout out, Ogama. What I was going to do is pretend that I was going to leave my mic on mute and then pretend I was talking and see your reaction, but that's too much tomfoolery, I think.
I would have just been going, all right, we're waiting for Robert, and we're waiting. I would have probably just said anything to keep from, having dead air.
Well, you did a great job, and I truly, truly mean that. And you're ready for me now to take a month off. So that was a good test. Appreciate it.
Well, if you need a month off, I mean, I'm down, but I mean, I'm gonna need a little bit of advance notice for that. So just give me a heads up.
Hey, we got a great show today. We got your news, of course, that you don't hear anywhere else, and then we're going to be talking to actor Michael Spears, who's Lakota Dakota, and he's up for a Indie Spirit Award nomination, and he's also been on our favorite show, Reservation Dogs, and he's also been on as a very young person, one of the kids in what was that? No,
Dances with
Dancing with
Wolves. He
Dan.
played Otter in Dances with Wolves.
I was gonna say Dancing with Kevin Costner is what the Indians call it, but yes,
Dances with
Dancing
Kevin
with
Costner.
Wolves.
That's correct.
Yeah. Hey, Ogama, why don't you start us off in a good way with the news that you don't hear anywhere else? Welcome.
Absolutely. So, since this portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, I thought I'd take some time to let everybody know that there's an important hearing happening tomorrow regarding the Line 5 pipeline running through the Straits of Mackinac and also, I believe, through northern Wisconsin. So, tomorrow, Thursday, October 6th, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, which is from 12 to 3 p.m. Central Time, the Army Corps of Engineers is taking public input on the scope of their environmental impact statement for the proposed tunnel underneath the Straits of Mackinac in northern Michigan. There's up to 3 minutes for you to speak. You can join by Zoom or you can go in person. Excuse me, it's online hearing. So you can write a comment or you can submit a written comment. So for those of you who don't know, Line 5, which runs through most of northern Wisconsin and across into the northern tip of Michigan, was built 69 years ago with a permit that was signed by President Eisenhower and engineered to last about 50 years. So far, it's spilled over 1 million gallons of oil and it continues to count. And it's deteriorating and threatening the Great Lakes, which hold about 95% of surface freshwater here in the U.S. The Line 5 pipeline was ordered to be shut down by the governor of Michigan more than 2 years ago now, and the pipeline is currently illegally running in Michigan and also illegally running in Wisconsin, holding expired permits with the Bay Mills Indian community, the state of Michigan, and the Bad River Lake Superior Chippewa. So this is definitely something that I think is past the point of a public hearing and comment period, allowing Line 5 to continue to operate illegally. This should be going to trial, not to public hearing, in my opinion. But for those of you who are free tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, you can join via Zoom and speak for up to 3 minutes. Final public hearing with the U.S. Army Corps on the scope for the Enbridge Line 5 pipeline. You can go to wecaninternational.org/stop-line-5. That's wecaninternational.org/stop-line-5. That is going to be the quickest and easiest way for you to go and submit your comment with that. And that kind of leads me into this other story, Robert, and I need you to maybe brace yourself for this. I think I've talked about it a little bit already this year, but basically, they're saying right now, every 2 days, there is a land defender or a water defender that's killed worldwide, and most of them are indigenous. Between 2011 and 2021, 342 land defenders were killed in Brazil alone. And a third of those murdered were indigenous or Afro descendants. So, according to the Global Witness .org and their decade of defiance, they say that over half of the attacks and that resulted in deaths, over half of them were indigenous people from Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil. But that doesn't include other places like India, Canada, and places in Africa as well. So the list of victims for 2021 is long, and unfortunately, I don't have the airtime to be able to read all of the victims. But so far, the U.S. does not have any victims listed on this list. But it is important to all of us, if you are a climate activist, if you are somebody who wants to take a stand for the water, for the planet, that you take the time to vote and you make sure that our elected officials are not enacting policies that would legalize them to hurt or kill you for defending the land. Those types of policies are on the ballot and have already been enacted in Wisconsin. And I believe they are on the docket here in Minnesota with certain representatives. So we do stand to lose a lot more than I think a lot of people realize we do with this election. So make sure you're paying attention, make sure you're writing to your representatives and let them know that you want to retain your rights to speak up about what is unfair and unjust in the world of climate activism. Good news, though, however, Robert, did you watch the rocket launch this afternoon?
No.
Oh, okay. So NASA launched the first Native woman into space today at about noon.
Oh.
NASA astronaut Nicole Onapo Mann, who's a Wailaki of the Round Valley Indian tribes, is aboard SpaceX Dragon, which is the name of the ship. And there are 3 other astronauts who are aboard that, and they're kicking off with a roughly 29-hour journey to the orbiting lab. So yeah, they just left at noon today. So it's really exciting to see the first Native woman to reach, the final frontier. And then one of the other, Anna Kikina, is the first Russian to fly on a private American spacecraft as well. So those are 2 really big things that are happening. I'm happy to see that there's a lot of women aboard. So
Stuff's going to get done.
Stuff's going to get done, right?
One of the things I want to bring up real quick before we break, we're breaking in less than a minute, is people are voting right now. So just remember these things. You can vote right now, and I know people are voting right now.
Absolutely. You can vote early. You can do an absentee ballot, which I actually have. Mine's just on the other side of the computer. I personally prefer early voting and absentee ballot voting because it allows me to take the time to do some extra last-minute research on my candidates in case they've changed positions before I vote for them. So that's why I do it. But if you can, go down to your local voting location and vote early if you know who you're voting for, and make sure to do your research and vet out your candidates. A lot of pro-climate candidates here in Minnesota are still trying to be pro-copper nickel mining, which is a really bad thing for the environment here in Minnesota. So keep that in mind, and we'll have some more news with you tomorrow.
Right on, and Ogama will be on the rest of the show. In segment 4, we're going to take your phone calls, but up next, actor Michael Spears will be right back. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Stay with us.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. the good stuff.
COVID levels may be falling, but the virus is still around. Stay healthy and up to date on your COVID vaccinations and boosters. Right now, everyone 6 months and older is eligible to get a vaccination, while everyone 5 and up is eligible for their booster shot. Plus, you're eligible for a second booster if you're over 50 or received an initial booster dose at least 4 months ago. Find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986 or visit vaccineconnector.mn.gov. This message brought to you by the Native American Community Clinic.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, this portion is brought to you by, what is it brought to you by, Ogama?
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
Yeah, that's a new sponsor. Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot, and we are here with Michael Spears, actor, and he's been in many things here, and we're going to talk a little bit about his career and also this new movie, The Year of the Dog. Michael, thank you so much for coming on to Native Roots Radio.
Pilama, thanks for having me. Looking forward to talking with you about all of the wonderful things in movies.
Right on. And, you know, we've had quite a few people, and I don't know if you know Bobby Wilson, but Bobby Wilson was a student of mine in Reservation Dogs, and we've had quite a few Reservation Dog actors on the show in the last 2 years, and we're really excited to throw you in that mix as a Reservation Dog alumni. Really, I just want to touch base on that for a second. That show for me has, and I know all over Indian country because I see it on Facebook, people are really plugging in, and I love it because it's for mainstream, but it also has a lot of good things for us natives to like shake our head and go, oh yeah, yes. And so how was that experience? You played pretty heavy duty part in this.
Yeah, that experience is unique for me in that, you walk on set and it's all native created, all the showrunners and actors and crew and cast, everyone's native, and walking onto a set like that is an experience in itself. I've never had the opportunity to be on a set such as Reservation Dogs yet, and looking forward to next season. I hear we just got picked up again for another season. I want to shout out to Sterling and Bobby and thank all the boys on set. Hopefully everything's going good with everyone. And man, the show's really picked up a lot of momentum and created a lot of visibility for Indian people all across America and the world now.
Yeah, a friend of mine who works for CBS television on 48, he's a producer for 48 Hours, called me late last night, and he's diving deep into the show and just couldn't believe it. And he was excited, and he was only on season 1, but there's great more to come on that. Just really excited that, I don't know if it seems like since Standing Rock, a lot of good things have happened for us natives. And I know we started our show during Standing Rock, and with the protesting of the pipeline, and a lot of good things from authors to movies, Prey, and to Reservation Dogs, and your upcoming movie, The Year of the Dog.
Oh, I'm very appreciative of the visibility, that we've gained through the political activism stage. We have a lot more stories. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I want to give shout outs to all the up and coming artists and filmmakers and musicians and all the other Indigenous people that are, on the come up, because we have so many more stories to tell. So each one of us has a story. Everyone has everyone's got dreams and hopes. And me as a little boy from growing up on the Lower Brule Reservation to where I am now, I'm back on the reservation now. I'm a student at Sinte Glashka University, and that's where I'm coming at you live from right now, is Mission, South Dakota.
Wow.
Yeah, and just balancing that and hoping for the best for all the people here. We, as a Native acting community, we're pretty small, actually. Everybody knows everybody almost. We all try out for the same parts. I've been fortunate enough to be in the game for, I won't date myself, but quite some time, as from Otter and Dances with Wolves to most recently Sitting Bull and Runs His Horse in Yellowstone.
Is that what you were shooting now?
Yeah, I just came off a 2-part docudrama for the History Channel. I was fortunate enough to land the lead in the docudrama, a 2-part series being produced by the History Channel, highlighting Sitting Bull's life.
Wow, that's awesome. Let's talk a little bit. I have a little blurb here. The Year of the Dog is about 2 strays, mad and alcoholic, struggling to maintain sobriety, and a rescue dog with unusual athletic gift. Spears plays Fred, Matt's big book thumping sponsor. Hey, that stop right there. People on the radio know that I've been sober for a few years, and I love that term, big book thumper. How did you prepare for the role?
Well, that role I drew from a lot of personal experience. The preparation, I guess, was being able to be in a space where I felt safe enough to let Fred out and be vulnerable as well, because he's not a perfect person either. So
Right.
just personal experience and my family members and I know a lot of us as natives have been touched by alcohol and the ism of it. Not only the addiction, but the things that come along with mental health awareness and illness and all of that.
Well, I always say it's really, whenever I see our lieutenant governor here in Minnesota, I always let her know it's like I really appreciate you. I used to be a high school teacher and had an all native homeroom, and what I would always tell her is I appreciate you being lieutenant governor because my kids are able to see someone that looks like them in this role, and I feel the same way about this, that there's many ways to recover and there's many ways to go down the red road, and to be able to have our people see somebody representing that portion of our culture, or not so much culture but a portion of our people. Some people do it the red road, some go to AA, but there is recovery out there, and so it's important I believe for us, and I want to say a big peeny gigi to you, Michael, for playing that role.
Piyama. I'll always, tip my hat to those that are brave enough to willing to tell their stories and be honest about it, like Rob and You're the Dog here. He puts himself out there and so it gives a pretty emotional, raw performance. And my character, at the time was going through a lot personally. I just lost both of my grandmothers and my mother shortly after this production, and some of that's going to come across on screen if you guys get a chance to watch the movie. But definitely want to give shout outs to Rob and the rest of the team on a success. We're just some Montana boys and girls that got together and made a movie.
Well, your role has been convincing enough that the film's producer have recently made a nomination submission on your behalf. So that's huge. That's huge. That doesn't just happen. And I appreciate your humility. And I just kind of keep saying that, how important that is for our people to see people out there in a good way. And you're doing that, Michael. With the, there, you being a young person starting out in movies and now older, there's two rules always: is you don't want to work with young people in film, and you don't want to work with animals. So how was it working with the dog?
That was awesome. I got to work with a few animals in some productions, but this was probably the most hands-on I've got to be with a canine. There was two puppies on this show, a stunt puppy and the actor. So it was, Rob got a lot more hands-on than I did, but we had some good fun times in pulling and creating that space where we could just have fun and catch something on camera.
Hey, I'm here with Michael Spears, and we're talking about the Year of the Dog and also other movies Michael's in. Michael, do you have time for another quick segment?
I sure do.
That's awesome. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back after this short break with us. Hey, we're still here. Ogama, how the heck am I doing? Whoops, how the heck am I doing there? I missed you on that interview.
I ran into technical trouble for this interview, so I wasn't able to join. And I'm sad I missed it. But I'm glad I'm getting to listen to it all the way through again now. And it's really amazing, these actors. I think a lot of people think of people who are in Hollywood as maybe like a non-job, or kind of like politicians, people who aren't like really real. And I always appreciate seeing these actors in this light.
And you said earlier, or while we were chatting during the interview, because it was pre-recorded, that he went through a lot of loss in that last movie. So
Yeah.
That's, you can't help, like he said, but to bring it in. Hey, we got part 2 coming up here with the interview here with this great interview, I should say. No, I'm just kidding. This subpar interview from me with Michael Spears, a Lakota actor. We'll be right back after this short break. This is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Hey, it's Patrick. Football season is building up, and so is the nastiness in your carpets and air ducts. It's time to call Zero Res and beat the holiday rush. Every surface Zero Res does is specifically designed to preserve and maximize the life of your investments in your home. But also ask yourself before you turn on your furnace, do you know how much built-up dirt, dander, and other allergens are hiding in your air duct system? With Zero Res this month, the more you buy, the more you save. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $139, or 5 rooms starting at $199. That's a 43% savings. Book now to get the best carpet cleaning deal of the season. And don't forget about your air ducts. Help your furnace perform its best this winter by removing all the nasty dirt, dander, and harmful debris from your HVAC system. Plus, Zero Res will give you $75 off any air duct cleaning package. Call 952-ZERO-RES or visit ZeroResMinnesota.com to schedule your appointment today.
Smart radio for smart people. That's the Tom Hartman program. Listen to me, Tom Hartman, from 11 a.m. to 2 right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
If you're like most people, you probably noticed your energy bills are going up and going up fast. Unfortunately, that's not likely to change anytime soon. So if high utility bills have you seeing red, see green instead by locking in an energy rate with All Energy Solar. Switching to All Energy Solar gives you peace of mind knowing your energy costs won't be rising along with fossil fuel costs. Solar panels last 25 to 30 years, giving you a good idea of where your energy is coming from for decades to come. Plus, a system from All Energy Solar could save you even more with net metering. With net metering, extra energy generated by your solar panels is sent back into the energy grid in exchange for credit on your electric bill. Those credits pay for your energy use on days when solar production is low or your electricity use is high. So declare your independence from the fossil fuel industry by switching to All Energy Solar. Get a free, no-obligation assessment from All Energy Solar by calling 800-620-3370 or visiting allenergysolar.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low around 51, Thursday partly sunny with a temp dropping to 49, and Friday sunny with a high near 48.
I'm Angela Warner, and my grandpa Jim Warner taught us to treat customers like family. And to thank you for 68 years, Warner Stellian is offering unbeatable appliance savings. Go to warnerstellian.com for a $50 exclusive coupon.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. I'm here with Michael Spears, and we're talking about his acting career, but also the Year of the Dog. Michael, Peenigigi for being back on here. This is an important conversation, and one of the things I'd like to ask you about your role is how did that come about? So what you tried out for the movie, they got the part, and then how did it turn into putting your stamp on this character?
Well, after the audition screen test process, I was given some character freedoms, and I developed Fred. Just kind of put a little bit of myself into him. Originally, he wasn't necessarily written as being an indigenous or native character, and in exploring that, I went ahead and put a little of myself into the character, and we made a few character decisions in regards to who and where Fred comes from, and we turned Fred into a Lakota. And of course, in the film, he's a sponsor, and also touches base on some racial stereotypes in the film in regards to what Rob's character is wearing, notably the Atlanta Braves hat in a lot of the mascot issue.
Yeah. That's a very subtle an issue been out there for a long time. I think, I'm here in the Twin Cities, and I think the murder of George Floyd really pushed the Washington football team to change their name, and there's more work to be done. So bringing that in the forefront is a good thing in a good way, Michael. We really appreciate that, and that's very authentic.
Yeah, the scene, it happened pretty organically, and I asked him in real time, where and why are you wearing that hat? And so we had some good conversations, and I was given an opportunity to write the scene and rewrite. And so him and I rewrote the scene, and you'll see it play out in the film. His character eventually takes the hat off and comes to an understanding that he's bringing a racial stereotype to life.
Yeah. And I think, again, the media, whether it's a movie or a TV show or a radio show, we have a lot of people out there that are allies, whether they're white allies, BIPOC allies, and it's good to to bring these things up and educate. I think that's part of our job, isn't it, Michael?
Definitely, as storytellers and just human beings, and keeping that integrity and the truth to who we are as a people, I think is important in the telling and retelling of our stories, especially for coming from a non-native perspective or point of view. And that's where another, if we're getting down to brass tacks, I'd say, we're making steps towards the right direction, but we do have a long way to go. And I appreciate all the allies out there, all of the support that we've had, and not only just this film, but in as a people, as a whole, as a Indigenous community here, in unity being represented through media, music, radio. I want to say Pilama to you for having shows and giving venues spaces available for Natives to come and have a voice and to get out there on these interwebs, these spider webs of communication.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's something that needs to be done, and I really someday hope to hand this down to a young one. And by saying that too, I want to just bring this up. I'm 61 years old, and our generation is kind of lost. I mean, we became in the forefront with the American Indian movement and all these things. I remember people in high school pretending they were Italian or something else before it was proud to be a Native out there. And so it's exciting to see a younger person like you, and then the younger people out there in the community really stepping it up, speaking their language, doing things that we're afraid of or we lost because of boarding school. So I want to say a big Pinagigi to you.
Well, thank you for the we say AKI or the recognition. But I give all the recognition to my mom and dad and grandmas and grandpas who raised me in a good way. I want to continue to support all of the Indigenous artists out there. I have 4 children as well, and I'm a student, so I'm always a proponent of higher education and learning. My mother was a survivor of residential schooling, and definitely my father, the late Patrick Spears, he was and still is my hero, as well as my mother. She worked 36 years in the Indian Health Service and opened up hospitals all throughout Indian country. If it weren't for those that have given their time and effort, I wouldn't even be able to be here making movies either. So I want to say thank you to those who laid the tracks for me, that I could be in the movies. I'm just a boy from the reservation too. I grew up in Lower Brule and moved off the reservation after in the 5th and 6th grade. And I grew up in Pierre, and then I moved to Aberdeen, South Dakota, and was fortunate enough to make a film or 2 a year. And I'm still in the learning process now, higher education, environmental sciences, and Lakota studies. I'm a big proponent of renewable, sustainable energies, and also just telling the truth, letting the little kids and all of them know that it's okay. It's cool to question your teachers, your the higher ups out there, and not be part of the status quo. We have to continually work to stay woke and keep the environment and the communities around us accountable for their actions as well. Being Native comes with the responsibility nowadays, as far as keeping the integrity and the truth alive. Having to wear several hats in now productions and different things is something that we're being leaned upon more and more in not only the acting communities, but everywhere.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Good words there. And it is good to definitely recognize our elders in a good way like that. I appreciate that. And there are many people that are still doing it out there. And again, I just I think the young ones are really leading the way, but we really do and did need our teachings. So that's a great point, Michael. I'm here with Michael Spears, actor in The Year of the Dog, a movie coming out here real soon, and he's an actor. He's been doing it for, I won't say how many years because I got the calculator out and figured it out, but also was on a Reservation Dogs and played a pivotal role of if you've been watching the young boy that committed suicide, he played Danny's father. And So we talked a little bit, and I want to talk to you about what is a good thing for our Native young ones listening to this to get into the business, and what do they need to know? And I think one of the things we talked about with our last actor friend, he talked about being on time and doing it in a good way. And there is no Indian time. We want to change that to being on time. Oh, wow.
Well, one thing that I guess I've taken away from the industry, being in it as long as I have, we're getting more and more visible as far as our storytellers, our directors and producers and people that have that business mindset, because ultimately, this business is a business, and it's a paradigm that I've chosen to build my career in. It definitely has its challenges and setbacks at times, but for kids nowadays to become an actor, model, agent, whoever, there's every job imaginable in the movies. You don't have to be an actor. You can be an engineer. You can be a photographer. The business end, the line producing, all of that. So I encourage kids to find what they love. And it's not always necessarily going to be an actor or a model or on this side of the camera, but there's an aspect of storytelling that takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of bravery to whether you can be an actor or even just to tell your story. So I want to tell the kids to persevere and which means that you don't have no fear and move forward and write your stories down, because we don't get a lot of chances over and over. So you get an opportunity, you get a chance to tell your story, do it, with no fear. And if you want to know something, go to the source. You want to know, whether it's your own stories, your own creation stories, or you're trying to marry two different tribes or whatnot, but go to the source and without fear, be a leader. Make those hard choices that, not everyone wants to follow down some of these harder paths. And I left the reservation and faced challenges of my own in going to a public school and having to fight and experience racism and those kind of things. And if it weren't for perseverance and finding those healthy ways to cope with anxiety and stress and pain, grief, those kind of things, and knowing who you are will help to define your path and to the future. So being Lakota, I lean on that. I lean on my religious practices, my spirituality, and it keeps me grounded. For one of my biggest auditions, I sang, and it wasn't any of the scripts that they asked for, and I just I sang and I spoke my language, and I received the role, and that in itself helps keep me grounded, helps keep me Michael.
Wow, Michael, I wanted to say before I let you go, this is Michael Spears, the Year of the Dog, and you can see him on a couple episodes of Reservation Dogs, and has a plethora of work. I just want to say Peeny Gigi for being on, and also, I always wanted to be a key grip, just to throw that out there. Hey, so Michael, thank you so much for being on. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back after this short break. Please stay with us.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
As we head towards colder weather, it's important to make sure you're up to date on vaccinations and protected from COVID-19. The Native American Community Clinic is now administering the updated Pfizer bivalent booster. The updated bivalent booster helps protect against the original COVID-19 strain and against newer Omicron variants. And it will help restore protection that has decreased since previous vaccinations. People aged 12 and older are now recommended to get an updated bivalent booster dose at least 2 months after their last COVID-19 shot. That means the bivalent booster may be given after a person's primary series or after their last booster shot, regardless of what brand you received before. Even if you've already had COVID-19, you should get vaccinated. Right now, at the Native American Community Clinic, you can get COVID-19 vaccines, including updated boosters, at the same visit as other vaccines. However, if you've received a recent monkeypox vaccine, you may need to wait 4 weeks before you can get a COVID-19 vaccine, and you should discuss this with your provider. Schedule your vaccination appointment with the Native American Community Clinic by calling 612-872-8086.
Bijou, I am Oshawashko Gijig. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Hey, this portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
One of our longtime sponsors, and they do such great work all over Turtle Island, especially now that COVID is under somewhat control. I got to be careful what I say because, there's still variants out there, but they are traveling more and doing their thing all over Turtle Island and giving out the good knowledge that they help with. So, Ogamont, I'll just throw this out here. I don't know if anyone wants to call. So we feel like the Maytag washer sale repairman. I don't know if you knew about that, if you're old enough to remember that, but it was a commercial where, the wash machines were made so well that the repairman never got a call.
Oh, that sounds like a good commercial.
That's the reference. We're doing so good at the show, we never get a call. But if you want to call and say who or hey, 952. Oh, the cat's not using the phone, but she's calling. 952-946-6205. Just give us a call and say hi out there. Do you have any leftover news or anything you want to repeat that we were just talking about?
I do actually have something else. Since we're talking about movies and actors and all of that kind of thing. There is a new series coming out on ABC that I just found out about. It's called Alaska Daily. It's got Hilary Swank in it, and it's going to be covering missing and murdered Indigenous women in Alaska. So maybe you heard about that already, but that was news to me today, and I am pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I thought I saw a glimpse, and I can't remember her name, but she was in Smoke Signals, and she played Pocahontas, the Disney voice of Pocahontas. Irene, who played in I saw a glimpse of her, and she was in it too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just cruising through. I'm looking for it on like IMDb and that kind of thing right now. I just happened to catch the headline as I was cruising through stuff today, so I haven't had a lot of time to look through it, but I'm glad to see the topic. So it's reading Grace Dove. Is that who maybe you're thinking of?
No, but let me just say too, why you brought that up. I hope, and as Native Americans, we always hope if we're being represented well, or sometimes these actors in these plays or movies, we end up with a savior role. And like I was joking earlier about Dancing with the Wolves, which to me is a great movie. Don't get me wrong, it's won all the Academy Awards. It was 3 hours movie, but a lot of my relatives called it Dancing with Kevin Costner, and the reason why is the savior role. He was saving the Native Americans that had been on this continent for tens of thousands of years. So hopefully this 2-time Academy Award winner will do it in a good way, Hilary Swank.
Yeah, I hope so. I was a big fan of her and her role I think it was called Iron Jawed Angels. It's back from 2004, and I believe she was the lead character there. And it was about the lives of Alice Paul and Lucy Burns, who were really instrumental in getting women the right to vote in the United States.
Oh, wow.
And she played, I can't remember if she played Alice or Lucy, but she went on hunger strike after she was imprisoned for speaking out about women being
Oh, yeah.
able to vote, and that was a pretty intense role. So I'm a bit of a Hilary Swank fan after seeing that one. I'm gonna have to probably maybe go back and rewatch that one. But you're right. I mean, I was excited about this show and excited about this topic, this Alaska Daily, but I don't see a lot of indigenous faces, indigenous names coming up on this. About the show, and it's pretty easy to step into that. That trope of being the savior or the person who comes and makes a
Good word.
savior. But
Good word.
yeah, trope, yeah. Well, and they exist all over the place, and like me and my husband actually talk about this quite a bit. He's a big movie buff. He loves to watch movies, he loves to watch films, television, YouTube, all of that just fascinates him. And we both have run into, just in really unexpected places, instances of inappropriation or of appropriation in movies. Like he likes horror films. So we went to a horror movie a while back. And in the middle of the film, a guy gives the main character ayahuasca, which is a drug used by Native American people in a very sacred way. But a lot of people will go and use ayahuasca or peyote to kind of have, those trips, or to open their mind, or, treat it the same way like LSD, that kind of thing. So this non-native character gives this other non-native character ayahuasca in the middle of the movie, and it's a horror film, and it's supposed to help him release the spirit of the person that's haunting him, because he's supposed to be able to use it to get into another realm. And it was like, what? Like, that's not what that is. Like, and that's sacred to people. Like, you can't just
Right.
throw that in the middle of a movie. And I mean, it was just so bizarre for us. We kind of left going, did they really do that? And
Yeah.
it happens all the time, right, Robert?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I can't think of a example off the top of my head, but I mean, I grew up, I'm 61, and I grew up with a lot of, well, one of the most racist shows I ever watched was F Troop. And I don't know if you've ever seen that TV show, but that was on that was on for a good 5 years in the 60s. And if I probably am speaking to people that have never seen it before, but that is one of the most racist shows now. Watching it now, Native Americans are dumb, and
Oh, yeah.
um, they're outside this fort called I can't remember what the name of the fort is, but they were they were totally well, first of all, they weren't native. None of them were Native American. That's for sure. And so they were the bumbling kind of con artists, snake oil. It was just it's just hard to watch now with all this knowledge of appropriation and what it does to our people. And we talk a lot about the residential schools, but I think white people have gone through residential schools through the media, whether it's
Yeah.
movies and
They've been in
TV.
They've been indoctrinated into those beliefs for sure. I think probably a good example of like a racist film for like my generation is probably Team America. That one was pretty awful. And I remember it came out in 2004, and I was in high school at the time. And I remember not really wanting to stomach any of it. My friends all thought it was really cool and it was really funny. And I didn't really like it at all. And it wasn't until I was older that I'm like, "Oh, I didn't like it because it was just blatantly racist." Like, and it's one of those things that people still, they still quote, they still talk about. And when we have those kind of movies that just permeate into our culture, and they're, displaying these really negative stereotypes, they're overtly or blatantly racist, I mean, those things do have an effect on how people operate and how they treat those people when they meet them in real life.
Well, Lou Diamond Phillips has played a lot of Native Americans over his career, and he's Asian. Johnny Depp played Tonto, which was a groundbreaking part that I can't remember his name right now, but Silver Heels, or what was his name? But he played Tonto in the original Lone Ranger, and to see Johnny Depp do it, and it's just like an irritant. It's almost like you start thinking about it, and you start thinking about the Atlanta Braves, and you start thinking about the Blackhawks, and people want to say, oh well, we're honoring you.
Mm-hmm. Somebody just posted, and I seen it come through social media. It says, welcome to WTF season for Native people. It goes Halloween, Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, and then Thanksgiving. And we have all three of those that happen in the span of 2 months. And those are the three big holidays every year where we're all, as Native people, collectively going, we've talked about this,
Well, Ogama, thanks again, and it was great having Michael Spears on. We're going to have him on again. He was really happy. He listens to the show, too, so that was really cool to hear. If you're listening to the show, you are part of the resistance from Chief Plenty Coops. The ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It's the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, or run for office, or do all of them. We're still here. We are the 7th generation. Free Leonard Peltier now. Free Leonard Peltier now.
Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepaid